is this movie, Bob? What is it?
It's a group of. Hold on, I gotta think about this.
The movie is.
I'll tell you what it isn't. A world seen through the eyes of a baby voiced by Bruce Willis.
I gotta learn how to really sell this, but everyone else is selling it, so it's fine. Okay.
Haven't seen it, don't know anything about it. I come when I'm called.
I had a very small part in this movie, so what I'm assuming this movie is about Catherine Blandford getting a better part than me.
The film is about, without giving too much away,
It's a classic story about a dream gone awry.
Fucking best movie I've ever fucking seen.
I didn't read the entire script.
Blood Mountain Massacre is about...
Tell me what the story's about. I know in general, but give me the full.
Blood Mountain Massacre is a grindhouse-style slasher film, and it's about...
two bands, all-girl band called The Abortions.
They're a rock star band in the ambiguous 60s, 70s, 80s-ish time period.
All-guy band called Dick Hammer.
The band that they're going to be traveling with turns out to be sort of a sketch group of dudes.
They're like, hey, come on back to our cabin for the night. And the girls are like, yeah, we love free drugs.
You know, meanwhile, we've got this escaped lunatic on the road killing people, and we've got cops chasing after him and stuff.
It's sex, it's rock and roll, it's partying. And then all of a sudden, shit gets crazy.
So we're basically trying to stay alive at the end. But one thing I really like about this movie, it is not your typical horror movie. You're not gonna be able to guess what's gonna happen.
It kind of starts off, I guess, with two separate stories actually happening. You have two, this train leaves station A going 50 miles an hour, then 50 or whatever, however that shit goes, and two separate trains that end up in a fucking massive collision.
The leader guy of the all-guy band, he's super fucked up, and he wants to, use the girls for this terrible thing. There's drugs and there's murder and a bunch of more twists than you would think for this kind of a film.
It's got an amazing twist at the end. That's the thing I like about it was, I never even saw the whole script before we finished because the software kept messing up on me, and so I didn't even know the third act until I finally saw the first cut of the film, and I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, dude, what is this?
This film kind of reminds me of a little bit maybe of, not necessarily Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Let's say like a Scream meets Urban Legend.
So the movie is a classic slasher movie. If I could explain it in a better term, I would try to find it. But
I like it's like a love letter to slasher films, like a tribute to everything 80s slasher that you can think of, down to the names of the characters, I think.
Plus tits.
And then I also liked the incorporation of rock and roll and heavy metal and that kind of thing.
And the other thing I think is interesting is that they're not rock stars. It's like a DIY, local band, that it's going on tour.
Any reason to get to, have music involved along with acting just makes me so excited. And
we both played in bands, and we played with each other's bands quite a lot, and so we just pulled from that.
a lot of these experiences that go down in the movie as far as being in bands. I've done the band thing for a really long time, and music and touring and grinding. A lot of those things play into where I was very comfortable with my character.
Yeah, I think the term that you kept using when we were doing the writing is the fact that we had a sense of inside baseball to what it's like to be a band on the lowest level, trying to make it happen, what you're dealing with sound guys, what you're dealing with promoters, bartenders.
Right.
So it was a way for us to kind of integrate that kind of stuff for our own sense of humor from how we've dealt with it personally.
I'm definitely very much a metalhead myself, so having the opportunity to play, a character that was involved with a band on tour was really exciting.
I rocked out. I had no idea what I was doing. A lot of times, they would ask me to stop in the middle of recording and be like, "You're so bad at this," and I'd have to have Darby come over and I repeatedly was just trying to do a 4-count beat. And I couldn't, it was so hard for me. What I learned to do was just bang my head so much that you couldn't help but look at my insane head moving and not pay attention to my hands, because I am absolutely faking it. And the actual sounds that are when we were filming that it's just the most horrid bangs.
The universe wanted this movie to get made because there were so many things that just the slightest fuck up, the slightest thing could have derailed this whole thing.
And there were some things like that, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just, perseverance. We weren't taking the idea that we weren't going to do it as an answer, It's going to get done.
With a super small staff, you have people filling multiple roles, and you're finding equipment on the spot sometimes, and it just felt like you're building the plane while you're flying it, and it's kind of exciting.
All hands on deck. Everybody's wearing multiple hats. We got very fortunate to have people that I think believed in the project as much as we did.
We're able to put together enough money to barely make this film, and we did.
So the low budget element of this movie was actually really fun. So it forced us to be creative, make our own blood and that kind of thing.
It was absolute chaos in the best way possible. Lots of late nights. I've been lucky enough to work on a couple of projects the past 10 years that have gotten serious about film and TV acting, and most of it's been union. So in that way, it's just everything's very organized in the way that, if you're an actor, it's like, oh, here, let's take your hand and put you in this trailer over here and put you over here, and do you need a juice box? And this was like the opposite of that. It's like, everybody grab on your asses, however you can be useful, do it.
And then we got Katie working on the prosthetic. It's nice and white because John is clearly a white person.
Obviously.
She's gonna get that toned up. For your throat slicing. You about to be murdered, motherfucker.
When I brought on most of them, I told them, look, this kind of movie, if you're not in front of the camera, you're holding it.
I think the most memorable and moments, I think, was the first night that we were all filming the party scenes, my death scene and whatnot, because we were really kind of realizing what it was that we were doing.
It's gonna be like this, holding his neck back. I want this at an angle so that from the camera I can see it. Right about here, real slow.
Yeah, that feels fine.
All right,
that totally feels
very
fine.
slow pull, like would be like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then this is gonna keep spraying. Just hold his head and just shake his head just like this, but don't move your body because you're gonna be hiding him. And he's gonna be hiding this.
For that one shot?
Yeah.
Will you duct tape that so he can get into it? No, that's what I'm saying, so he can get into it. And everybody was so gung-ho about it, and it really gelled into a unit to where we set the basis for what it was gonna take to finish it.
It was brutal and intense, but also we were all trauma bonded for life now because of this experience.
It felt like we were always in the elements. You're in a house without power, a condemned house. You're in a hot tub that's not working, and felt like the middle of winter. So you're just looking at everyone's dying at the same time.
I mean, I've been in worse situations. I've been colder. I've been hungrier.
A lot of the locations had challenges. That's just the way that was. I mean, certain things are challenges that really kind of endear you to the project. So everybody shows up to a place that has no power, or everybody has to get into a hot tub that is never going to get hot again in the history of mankind on this planet.
102 Jacuzzi Dolly, take 1. All right, let me set.
Only take.
This is like squirting water up my back.
Oh God.
Right into my face. That made me so angry. Yeah.
All right.
The hot tub was terribly, terribly cold. We shot this movie in March, and there's a hot tub scene, and it's Georgia, but it's still not terribly warm. And the hot tub wouldn't get warm either. I believe they left it running for 2 days, and there wasn't any heat at all.
I know I don't only speak for myself when I say that was an experience.
But you know, it was what it was. It wasn't that bad.
It was so goddamn cold. I actually ended up losing my voice from this shit. And it was dark, and it was bugs and shit.
I also made the poor choice of like, let me do everybody a favor. I'll just get settled into this hot tub. And then it took another hour and a half to get the lights set up and find Rosser. That was a big fucking issue with the hot tub too. Where's John? Who knows?
The heat was definitely not on. It was fucking cold.
The cocaine that we were using was powdered milk.
I knew there was a scene with coke, but I didn't understand. Like, I didn't think, oh damn, how are we gonna like make this real?
And I had to go nanny after that for 5 hours straight and just felt this powdered milk dripping down the back of my throat.
I mean, I snorted easily an ounce of powdered baby milk, and it was really, really, really fucking difficult.
You think it's like, oh, that should be fine, but I tell seriously, for the rest of the day, I was tasting milk.
I mean, I felt like I had been breastfeeding for like 3 days later after that. I was just keep getting this drip of titty milk.
The most disgusting feeling I'd ever felt in my entire life, but I was like, I'm committing to it. And so I was just pounding just liters of milk into my nostrils.
Bob threw the shit up, so that was hilarious.
The way I see it, I got in that bass player chick's fast. This is gonna be the. He just puked.
I heard you barfed yesterday.
I threw up. I was just caked with fucking dry powdered milk. I was taking big old bumps because it looked good for camera, and then I was just like, oh, we're done here.
I was covered in blood, whether it was my character's blood or somebody else's blood. But I didn't anticipate the time and effort it would take to clean up after this movie.
They put prosthetics over one of my eyes, but it was my good eye, so I had to be walked around that day. What? Because that was great.
There's still moments when it comes to like the whole third act where it's like, I don't understand how we pulled that off, let alone getting people to agree to do it.
But the house we shot at in particular, I feel like it was Bob's like criteria to choose a location for this film, and that somebody like had passed away there, or there was like some understanding that it was haunted in some capacity.
We were all kind of creeped out, about it, and we're saging the house, and we're all talking about it. We're finding weird shit all over the place.
Very fucking creepy. Everything literally fit exactly what we were going for. And then, of course, when it hit nighttime, it was even more fucking creepy because there was no power.
And it was like, all right, well, let's just get a generator. And let's, keep it all in the light of the generator. So we're shooting at night, and if the generator's not on or in the room, it's pitch black. There's no running water in this fucking house.
Walking into that house had a feeling, didn't know what it was at all, but just had an uncomfortable, eerie feeling. And I'm like, okay, well, they've done good with, filming and getting everything together, because it's creeping me out.
It kind of felt like we was in a horror movie ourselves at the same time, because it was like any little thing we heard, any little thing that happened, it was like, what the fuck was that?
It was a house that was about to be torn down, and we were able to get it, and they didn't have any utilities, so we had to bring in generators, we had to bring in all that stuff, but it was great because they're like, you can do whatever you want to this house, and we didn't have to pay for it.
And then after I filmed my scene is when I found out a little more information about that location.
That house that we shot at
Yeah.
was a murder-suicide house.
Cool. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
The woman that owned that house, she died in the house because her uncle, or I think it was her uncle,
Guys.
came in and killed her.
In the
went
attic.
down into the basement and shot himself. The bed that you were doing the tarot card reading
Fuck
on.
That was her bed. She got
Guys,
shot up.
fuck you guys. Fuck off. Are you serious?
100%.
Being locked in that cabin for the last couple days, shooting the big finale of the movie was quite an experience. It was an old filthy meth shack. Everything that you see was very real, and a little too real at times.
It was very creepy. All of the locations were creepy.
I don't think that anybody who signed up for it really knew what we were signing up for.
That last night when we were all way into the wee hours of the morning and there was a bag of cat food that had just been there on the table and there was a rat or a mouse inside of it. We never determined. We just kind of all looked at it move every once in a while and just knew that it was somebody in the room.
You know, there was a rat there while we're trying to shoot the end scene, and we're all like, you know, trying to get in character, and all of a sudden you see this rat poke its head out. I was like, oh my god.
Retrospectively, it's all good memories, even though in the moment there was some real tension
stress,
and real stress going on.
It was difficult in certain scenes, but nobody quit. You know, I mean, there was a lot of back and forth between all of us.
But I mean, there was almost a fist fight at one point too. You know, it didn't escalate. I didn't think it was, but there was a moment where I wasn't sure.
Literally all of us in different times, but none of us quit. Everybody stuck with it.
Certain friends are allowed to talk to each other a certain way. It's
right.
You know, it's okay.
Exactly, and certain people don't speak anymore.
It was probably like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. At this point, we're all just dead tired. Everybody's just covered in blood. You know, titties out, just waiting for someone to let us go home. And we were just having to get these shots. You know, it was our last night, and Greg, you know, the big scary guy in this particular scene, just kept cracking like puns, jokes at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were just all slap happy at that point. So just being in that chaos of being in misery and then like laughing hysterically at the same time was one of my favorite memories.
I'm in the movie for 30 seconds, and Bob's like, hey, we gotta reshoot. And I'm like, oh, just, no, the whole thing. We gotta reshoot the whole thing. Some with the green screen is what I was told.
We thought we killed it, and then come to find out the green screen was all fucked up and we were missing arms.
My hand keeps disappearing in the scene. We can leave that in. I feel like it's a horror movie. We're suspending reality here.
I told you about when you tried to grab my balls under the dinner table last year?
First of all, that didn't happen.
That did happen.
Second of all, let her have a little fun.
I'm not going to let... It did happen. You were looking down. You were saying grace. I didn't want to say anything because it was a nice moment. But as soon as you looked down, she slid her fat foot out of those cheap pumps that she wears right under the table, right into my balls. She's got bunions, baby.
So we had to redo it again, which I'm so thankful we got to redo it because I think we fucking nailed it the second time.
Last Thanksgiving, she tried to grab my balls with her foot right under the dinner table.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did. I didn't want to say anything because you guys were saying grace. You were having a beautiful moment for Jesus. Meanwhile, here came the devil right underneath the table.
There is a fight scene, and I had to hit the killer over the head with a few items. One of the things was a bottle. There was supposed to be 2. We only had 1 because 1 got broken at a time. And so the pressure was on me of only having this 1 shot to get right. Of course, me having to hit him over the head with shit. Some of that shit was real, and I felt really bad because I was like, I don't want to hurt this man. He's so nice. That was the most challenging part, was me having to fight a really nice person.
Chasing after the truck, yep. I was supposed to change a tire in the movie. Bob found a way for me to be in the movie, and I was supposed to change a tire, and then he gave me some lines, and then it became driving the main producer's truck, expensive vintage truck, and it got away from me on the 3rd take, I think, and it went downhill. I take a piss!
Okay, so you gotta put it in park.
It's fucking scary because I was like, I'm done. They're not going to work me no more. That's like a $15,000 truck.
And all of these things, they're difficult, but because you do them together in this group, they become really, really bonding. And that only, I think, strengthens the play we have together and the performances that you get from the other actors, right? Like, so yeah, it sucked because the power was a thing, but everyone's working towards the same end, and what I saw was just a lot of people rising to the occasion. So yeah, you might have needed a lamp in the room, but you could yell into the dark, and sure enough, a lamp would come.
We at least fed everybody, and you know, Miller Lite was the unofficial sponsor of the film.
It was good, man. You know, there was beer. I feel like I was and, you know, that seems like a strange way to advocate for something. There was beer. But there was, and that made it better.
Is there any more beer? What was the question?
Too much money would have hurt the film. we needed it to be authentic, even in the idea that it was in fact low budget. You know,
No budget.
No
I mean,
budget.
Just down to as low as a low budget can possibly be in a budget.
Right.
I don't think you can make a quality horror movie with a big budget. Having no money makes you. I mean, it's a bunch of comedians that were doing it anyway, so it's like if it's gonna be bad, you might as well lean into making it funny, and we got that all day.
Bob couldn't find real actors, so he was like, who do I know that could knock this out of the park? And that guy was busy. And then, Bob, I got a phone call. I said, I'll be right there.
I would say shooting with comedians on a horror film was, I mean, it was a really good time. I mean, the whole time, I was just nonstop laughing, like trying to keep a straight face and stay in character was really, really difficult.
I think working with comedians really helped make it like, even like the could be stressful situations not be as stressful because they're cracking jokes about the shit.
So I've done a couple of projects before where it's all comedians, and sometimes it's hard to wrangle because we're just constantly talking and riffing and making fun of each other, but it's a great mix because everyone's like super into like being creative.
You can't get that timing without years and years of practice, and they all had it. And just an actor that's not a comedian, they struggle in those areas.
We were given a lot of structure, and then they would be like, oh, let's throw this one-liner in. Or, hey, this doesn't really make so much sense coming out of your mouth, let's change it. And we were able to have kind of flexibility. I got to throw in a couple lines, and then they were used in the movie.
And changing things around at the last moment and improvising. Like if I had an idea, even if I was just not filming or if it wasn't my scene, if I would jump in and say, hey, what if they did this? They would do it right away if it was a good idea.
We had an incredible script, but we would like improvise and ad-lib as we went. But we decided to add in some beers while driving in the car because we're like, well, it's set in the past. And of course we would be cracking open beers and drinking those down the road.
There's definitely a great amount of strength in the fact that our casting just couldn't have been more serendipitous. Like every person was the person that they should be. We managed to really capitalize on a lot of people's strengths. And we owe a giant amount to the people that ended up being cast.
Especially the actors too. If an actor says, oh, what if we went this direction with it? What if we went that direction with it? Bob will go, let's shoot it, let's just see what happens.
The most fun was probably just the fact that we were goofing off a lot, but I think the difficult part is kind of tandem with that, where sometimes it's hard to get everybody to focus and pay attention, especially when it is way deep into the night and we're already on like 8 cups of coffee and bottles of Coke and all we've eaten is pizza for 72 hours. And we started to get a little squirrely, and that made things a little difficult at some points. Some of those screams in the end are very much a reality.